Alright all, and welcome back to a new video and another Cheltenham Festival Ante-Post update video. I think it's our 6th of the series, and we'll have bet 10 near the end of the video for the Cheltenham Festival. We've only had the 9 bets. We had around 30, I'd say, this time last year. I've been a lot more restrained, I feel, trying to find a little bit more value, trying to find the right horses for the right races. And look, we've got a book with a few live chances, so hopefully we can, grab a winner or two. I'll probably go through the bets at the end of the video. But this Cheltenham Festival Ante-Post update, it won't actually be circling in around the races over the last weekend or so, because there hasn't been that many races. Instead, I've gotten a few comments from a few people looking for me to try and go through the festival handicaps at this moment in time and maybe give a few chances to. These are not official selections. I'm just going to put that out there. These are just my thoughts on the races at the moment, all the handicaps, and hopefully it can inspire a bit of debate in the comments between all of you guys in terms of what you think is the best handicap bet, which you think are the right handicapped horses for the Cheltenham Festival. And hopefully by the time it comes to March we can have found a couple of them, because obviously a few winners in the handicaps makes for a pretty profitable week. As always, a plug for Horse Racing Buddy. I've done it in the majority of the other videos as always. Great opportunity to get into horse racing ownership. We've got a few horses in the care of the likes of Brendan Murphy, John McConnell, hopefully getting a new horse soon with Ross O'Sullivan as well. So plenty of exciting times. If you want to get in touch with myself or Kieran, do make sure to do so. The link to Kieran will be down below, and obviously contact me through this or through Twitter. No matter what, I'll get back to you. Moving through the handicaps though. A few of them I don't have much of a say on at all. A few of them I've got a few that I've got my eyes on. Starting off with the Ultima handicap chase, the first handicap on the first day, the third race. And it's a race that obviously the Irish have done very poorly in years gone by. And it's not a race that you're more than likely going to get a Gordon Elliott lurker or anything like that. I don't think. I think if Gordon runs a horse in this, it might be Farkas. He'd have some sort of a chance, I suppose. A former Triumph Hurdle winner, ran well in the Paddy Power. You probably have to see how he runs in the Thyme on Thursday. I think that's where he'll run next before you'd be considering this race form, because if he goes and wins the Thyme, he's not going to win an Ultima. I don't think he'll be too far up in the handicap. The Ultima in years gone by has had a good record in terms of horses being able to come back and run well in the race year on, year off. And probably if you were to pin me down for horses to follow right at the moment in time in terms of the market, I'd probably be siding with last year's form. The Conditional is best priced 22 to 1 and Discorama's best price 25 to 1. I think they're both actually not bad each way prices. I just look at the top of the betting. Dickie Diver's top of the betting. Can't see him running in the race, personally speaking. He's so short on handicap experience. Royal Pagaille still at the top of the market. There's not a hope he's running in the Ultima now. He's either going to run in a novice race or potentially the Gold Cup. However, I wouldn't be mad on him in a Gold Cup personally. But look, he's a very good horse, but he's definitely not going to be running in an Ultima handicap. So a few at the top of the betting aren't going to be there. The Conditional certainly will be there. Won the race last year off 139 and has been subsequently raised and been competing off 147 in the Hennessy, where he came third, and then 146 last time out at Ascot in the Silver Trophy just before Christmas, where he came second. I assume he'll be in and around that 146 to 147 mark, and be interesting to see whether he can defy that weight. He's obviously only won the race, I think, by a half length last year to Kildasart, but he's shaped as a progressive horse. He's still a young enough horse that there may be a bit more progression in him, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was banged there. Same comments can be applied to Discorama. Look, he ran a very funny race over at Cheltenham, I think at the November meeting. He was in a 6-runner, 3.5 mile handicap, and Robbie Parr decided to try and make all with him, which was bizarre considering he's never done that before in his career. He was off a mark of 150 that day, having come third in the Ultima last year of 148. It wouldn't surprise me if he's dropped back down to 148, 149, and I think he's probably pretty competitive off that. He's the type of horse that more than likely is going to find a couple too good, but wouldn't put you off backing him each way to hit the frame, considering he's hit the frame at the last 3 festivals in the Martin Pipe, the National Hunt Chase, and then the Ultima last year. I think they're both overpriced. As I said at the start of the video, these aren't official selections at all, but they are just my thoughts on the race, and I do think those two will be the ones I'd be siding with at this current moment in time. The Boodles handicap all moved to the Tuesday. An awful lot of these handicaps have moved around now, so prudent to know that. The Boodles is now on Tuesday, and it's not a race I have really any say in at the moment. I'd follow what Gordon Elliott runs in the race. I thought at the start of the season that Duffel Coat would be the type of horse that would maybe be found out at Grade 1 level and then rock back into a Boodles. There's still a potential possibility for that, but the Adagio form looks too strong, and I wouldn't say he'll run in the Boodles now. I'd say he could well just run in the Triumph. An interesting one is this Tiupo, who won the other week in Rob Cour's colours. He beat, well, I don't know, he probably wouldn't have beaten Humdor in that Fairy House race with Autumn Evening and Druid's Altar back in second and third, which is a fairly robust level of form. I thought he's a stout stayer. Wouldn't surprise me if he was to run in this race. Obviously, Gordon has the likes of Zanahir, Quilixios and potentially Duffelcoat all running in the Triumph Hurdle, so he'll want one or two of his juveniles to run in this race, and it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up here at Tiupo. He's currently 16 to 1. Wouldn't be a mad selection, but probably the one at the prices that I think is the most likely to run and most likely to run well. I'd certainly be keeping a keen eye on what Gordon ends up sending for these races, as you can pretty much copy and paste that by saying that for all of these festival handicaps, because Gordon is obviously awfully shrewd. The Coral Cup, another very tough race to get much of a handle on, I think, at this stage in time. Good to see that Colm Fire was meant to run on Saturday at Navan. Obviously the card was called off through frost, but good to see that he's in some sort of good health. He would have won the Martin Pipe last year before falling at the last under Owen Walsh. There's been hints that this is the race that he might run in, and he's currently 22 to 1 best price. If you want to maybe have a look into that, I wouldn't put you off. It's just one of those things. He is up to winning one of these festival handicaps. He showed that last year. As I say, he would have won the Martin Pipe. So it'll be interesting to see whether they can get him primed to maybe search for a bit of compensation this year. One that I thought was very interesting, and it's in there 25 to 1. I put him up on Twitter there last week, I believe, was Kashari, just as an interesting one for Willie Mullins. Willie Mullins in the past has often run a very good horse in the Coral Cup of near enough top weight and run well. You know, Wicklow Brave came second in the race, Bacchusson came 5th or 6th in the race last year, and he also ran both Stratum and Franco de Port in the race last year. Now, I know both of them pulled up, but he does run a couple in the race usually, and a few decent enough horses at that, and this Kashari is obviously a very good horse. Now, the thing that's put me off it is that he's entered for the Thyestes on Thursday as a 3-mile chase. Now, it wouldn't be beyond Willie Mullins to run him in a Thyestes and then run him back in a Coral Cup. You see with a horse like Bacchusson goes over hurdles one week, fences the next. And it'll be interesting to see how he does go in a Thyestes. I thought his reappearance run at Limerick when he won, beating Ferryhill, run by 3.5 lengths, was mightily impressive of 135. With the hike in weight he's going to get from the Irish handicapper and also probably a few added on from the English handicapper, I have him in. He'll probably get a mark in a range of the 147, 148. For the Coral Cup, which perhaps wouldn't be insurmountable considering Cracking Smart came 4th in the race last year off 152. He's one just to keep an eye on. As I say, I wouldn't be backing him right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ran in the race. Willie Mullins doesn't seem to have many other potential horses to run in the race. Bacchusson might go for it again, but it wouldn't surprise me, even if he ran in the Thyestes, that he might rock up in a Coral Cup and wouldn't be out of place in a race like that. Obviously, he'd be near enough the top of the weights if he did turn up. And it would be one that I'd keep an eye on. Obviously, keep an eye on Colm Fire. I do think there is a big pot in him somewhere. Just depends which race he'll go for. The Grand Annual moved on to the Wednesday, usually run at the back end of the Friday card, was the last race for an awful lot of years. In the last couple of years, it's been the second last race, but it's now in on the Wednesday, and I'm quite sweet here on Aramax. He's 20 to 1 with Bet365, generally 16 to 1 available. Just very similar profiling to Chosen Mate, who won this race last year off a mark of 147. He was a no-show in 2 beginners' chases before winning at Fairy House there last week, beating Port Stanley, suddenly latching onto the bridle at the back of 2 out. Now, the first time tongue tie was the apparent excuse for the the miraculous, level of increase of form. But this horse obviously won the Boodles last year off a mark 138. He ran to an RPO mid 140, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if he gets a mark of maybe around 145, 146 for the Grand Annual. Chosen Mate won the race last year off 147. It does look like they're trying to get Chosen Mate handicapped again to run in the Grand Annual, but he is still going to probably be carrying another £8-9 than he was last year, which is going to make life awfully difficult off more than likely top weight. I think Aramax is a more unexposed horse. He has only run 3 times over fences. He does lack experience, but he's only 5. He's still a very progressive horse, I believe. When obviously the money is down, he's a much better horse than when the money isn't down. And I know they have the likes of Entukas in the race, but JP has ran many runners in races like the Grand Annual before. Wouldn't surprise me if he ran 3 or 4 in the race, and I think Aramax has got as big a chance as any of them. The Pertemps, always a very difficult race to get a handle on. The Boss's Oscar looks to be the plot horse for Gordon Elliott. If I'm being honest, I'm not maybe quite as convinced as some people are, just in terms of, and I'll get onto it when I'm talking about wide receiver later. It's unlike Gordon to almost let the cat out of the bag this early, and it seems to be that every man and dog seems to have backed the Boss's Oscar for the Pertemps from, October onwards, and it just wouldn't surprise me if Gordon somehow gets something else qualified to run well in it. A horse that won the other week, and I know winners of Pertemps qualifiers have a desperate record in the actual Pertemps itself, but I was really taken by Imperial Alcazar over at Warwick, and I know a few other people were as well. He's best priced 11-1. He's been given £8 for that win at Warwick. He was running off 139 there. He's now off 147, and obviously as he's an English trained horse, he won't stray from 147 as long as he doesn't run between now and the festival. I suspect they'll just go straight to Cheltenham now with him, and he wouldn't be far off it, I think. Fergal has obviously had horses run well in festival races before, hasn't had a festival winner, not to my knowledge anyway. And I think it's one of these horses that they've always held in an awful high regard. He had close form tied in with the likes of Protectorate last year, who's ended up being a graded novice chaser this year. And I know they're quite sweet on Imperial Alcazar going chasing at some stage down the line, but off 147, I'd give him a decent enough chance at running quite well in this race. Sarda Burley won this race off a mark of 152 last year, so it can be done if you are a quality horse, and he'd be one I'd be potentially looking at for the Pertemps. The Brown Advisory I have looked at for quite a while now over the last couple of weeks. I don't have anything for the Brown Advisory. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the Brown Advisory, whether you think of anything, because Chantry House is the favourite. I can't see Chantry House running. Janadil's up there. Can't see him running. I just don't know. I wasn't sure. It did cross my mind whether Simply the Bets would end up running in this race again, because obviously Simply the Bets was probably my strongest festival handicap fancy last year, of which he won the Brown Advisory, and it's a race I usually have an okay record in, but I just can't find anything at the moment, so I'm not going to even bother trying to make a case for anything. Maybe Simply the Bets, if they got him back right, would they run in this off top weight? Maybe so, but wouldn't be a race for me at the moment to be getting stuck in with on anything. The Kim Muir, I suppose, I've put up on other channels, Run Wild Fred, any race, and I do assume this is the race he's going to end up running in. He's currently 16-1, which isn't the worst price, I don't think. I'd put him up, I think, at 10-1 any race on the champ.ie Road to Cheltenham Challenge that I do with Barry Doyle every Monday. If you haven't looked at that, please go and do so. It would be very nice of you. But this Run Wild Fred, I'm not sure. He campaigned quite similarly to Milan Native. You could say equally that about Cocoa Beach, though, who I do think also has a chance for Gordon. There's obviously a few English horses in there. Not a Chance is currently the favourite. I don't know whether Not a Chance is even going to run in the race. Dicky Diver, I can't see running in the race. I don't see the craze behind Dicky Diver whatsoever. One kind of half-decent run in a novice handicap, and suddenly he's the best handicapped horse in Britain, seemingly, despite having only had one run in the last 2 years. I know he's got good back form, but I couldn't be backing him for a festival handicap based off that little experience. Run Wild Fred has ran 4 or 5 times. He's been dismal enough 2 or 3 times and pretty good the other 2 or 3 times. Second last time out to Longhouse Poet. Should get in here off a mark sub 145 as one would need to get into the Kim Muir. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Rob James was riding him. If obviously amateur riders can ride at the festival. This is something to bear in mind obviously now with the restrictions currently in place. If it was over in Ireland, Rob James I assume would take the ride, but it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Wouldn't surprise me if Run Wild Fred ran very well in the Kim Muir. And then the 2 on Friday, starting off with the County Hurdle, a race I'm finding a little bit hard at the moment. 2 horses I think would have a chance if they ran in the race and probably didn't run from now until Cheltenham. One being Master McShee. I don't know what the plan is with him. He got obviously £11 for winning of the handicap hurdle at Leopardstown over Christmas off 132, so he's 143 in Ireland. He'd obviously get a few pounds on top of that. It wouldn't surprise me if he ran in the 2 mile handicap hurdle, formerly the Sweeps, and the Pierce hurdle at Leopardstown in the Dublin Racing Festival, potentially won that and then went on to a Supreme. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But if he wasn't seen between now and Cheltenham and then rocked up in a county hurdle, I'd back him. I think he's potentially a grade 1 horse, certainly a grade 2 horse, running in handicaps at the moment. I think he's a very good horse, and I think he'd be half the price no matter what race he'd be in if he was trained by somebody other than Paddy Corkery. But I think he's got a chance. And one also that won at Market Raising there the other week is Edwardstone. I just don't know which race they're going to prime him at, whether they're going to give him a real good crack at the Betfair hurdle and a couple of weeks at Newbury, or whether they'll run okay in the Betfair hurdle and then really try and run very well in the county hurdle. He was obviously 6th in the Supreme last year. I think he's got a big handicap in him off his current mark. And 25 to 1, it's not the worst price. I think there's 20 to 1 non-runner no bet out there. That's probably a safer bet, or maybe even 16 to 1 non-runner no bet. I'm not quite so sure about that, but he's 25 to 1 best price. I do think there's a big handicap in him. I just can't tell you whether it's going to be the Betfair hurdle or the county hurdle at this stage. And finally, the Martin Pipe. Obviously, I put up Wide Receiver as one of my bets at 25 to 1 any race. That looks a decent bet at this stage. He's 8 to 1 favourite for the Martin Pipe. That is best price as well. As I said, though, with the Boss's Oscar, the only thing I'm not liking about Wide Receiver is he's becoming a complete wise guy's horse at this stage. It's nice to be on at a decent price, but we saw, I was on at a really good price for Sam Waugh, and he turned into a wise guy's horse for a few months and suddenly hasn't performed, and it's all kind of crumbled. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Gordon has something else to run in the Martin Pipe as well. I do think Gordon more than likely will win the race as long as things go to plan. I'm hoping Wide Receiver is the horse, but I do think I can't see Wide Receiver losing to anyone else but a Gordon Elliott stablemate, and whether that's Eastkey Lane or Ragnar Lobbrook or one of these horses, I'm not so sure. I think Wide Receiver's got every chance though, and 25 to 1 looks a decent bet at the moment. That moves us on to bet 10, and first of all we'll go through the bets that I've put up so far. Some okay, some not so great. Starting off with the 4 at the start of the season, which was obviously Sam Waugh, the champion hurdle at 20 to 1. Yeah, it's 12 to 1 now. He's definitely a 12 to 1 chance. You'd want to see him run an awful lot better in the Irish champion hurdle than he did in the Matheson. Allaho at 12 to 1 for the Ryanair. That's on the fringes at the moment as well. I was really hoping that we'd be currently or just have watched Thurles this afternoon, and he'd have either made sure that I'd have thrown that slip in the bin or enhanced that slip. So that meeting is being rearranged for Wednesday. One would like to hope he'd run in that jockey club. It's a jockey and hotel club chase over 2.5 miles. Hopefully win that and have a chance when it comes to the Ryanair. We've Thyme at 16 to 1 for the Stairs hurdle. That looks a good bet at this stage. He's 9 to 2. I think he's got every chance. I think the English form is better. Roxana franked both Thyme Hill and Paisley Park's form there by winning the Mares hurdle on the weekend at Ascot. I do think the Irish horses, there are a few, the likes of Fury Road and Ronald Pump, that may have each way chances, but they'd have to improve on what they've done this so far anyway to have a real big squeak when it comes to the Cheltenham Festival with the Stairs hurdle. Then we had, what was the other one at the start of the year? It's struggling to come to memory just at the moment. We then had two in quick succession, one being Delta Work at 40-1 for the Gold Cup. I just thought it was one of those. I see David Jennings has put him up now at 33-1 for the Gold Cup. One of those I just thought was a little bit big at the time. Thought he's going to shorten. He obviously then unseated in the Savills Chase, which wasn't ideal whatsoever, but hopefully he can get back on track at some stage. Nassalam at 25-1 for the Triumph Hurdle. That looks an okay bet. He's currently 16-1. I think he has an okay chance in the race. I don't know whether he's going to run on Trials Day maybe in the Grade 2 Triumph Hurdle trial, and if he won that you'd have to give him a chance in a Triumph Hurdle, but he would have to win it. He does have it defined with Adagio, and you could make the argument about Nassalam and Adagio have it defined with the Irish horses, so maybe he's up against it. I've remembered Latest Exhibition was the other one at the start of the year. Sorry, I can't believe I've forgotten him. He's one of my favourite horses. 16-1 for the RSA. Looks a fair each way chance. Hopefully he can do pretty well. I don't know whether he'll run in the flow gas or not. Maybe if Monkfish isn't there, he will run in the flow gas. We have Wide Receiver, as I said, 25-1 any race. And then the last two, which were just after the Christmas racing, was Stattler at 20-1 for the Albert Bartlett. That's into around 12-1 at the moment. I think that's a decent bet. And Boum Photo at 9-2 for the Gold Cup. Probably a safe one. Thought he'd contract a little bit more after the Tremor race than he did. Kind of got that wrong. But 9-2, I suppose he's now 7-2, 3-1. So I got a little bit of a price on him in comparison. Bet 10. Now this is a horse that's hopefully going to run. But that being said, it's going to be the first horse that I'm going to back, and I'm going to advise to be putting up non-runner, no bet, because I'm just not sure whether the horse will run at Cheltenham or not. But I do think if she runs, she's got a big chance, and I would advise just non-runner, no bet. Just as Paddy Power giving it, there's enough of a discrepancy, or not enough of a discrepancy between the non-runner price and her other price to not go non-runner, personally, for what I'm suggesting. And it comes in the Mare's Chase. A horse that's been talked about a little bit. I know Ruby Walsh mentioned her on last year's Road to Cheltenham Challenge. I haven't based it off that whatsoever, actually. I've always thought, since the start of the year, I was never really a fan of Benny going for the Mare's Chase. I'm still not sure about Benny. We haven't heard anything. Is she going to be there at Cheltenham? I know they're just planning her to get to Cheltenham, but is she actually going to get there? If so, what race is she going to go in? Awful lot of these contrasting factors. They've said before that she struggles to keep in training once she's over fences, so it's something to bear in mind. Calrivi obviously has a fantastic chance in the race, but you'd have to wonder, her right-handed form does look an awful lot better than her left-handed form, just based on evidence. Put the Kettle On, I still think will run in the Champion Chase. Dame de Compagnie is quite light on experience. And another JP runner that potentially will run in the Mare's Chase is Ellie May. And I'm going to put up Ellie May at 10-1 non-runner no bet with Paddy Power. I know she is as big as 14-1 with Bet365. She's 12-1 with William Hill and 11-1 with an awful lot of bookies. But she's 10-1 Paddy Power, non-runner no bet. And the reason I say that is she just didn't get to Cheltenham last year. But she was declared to be in Allaho's race today at Thurles, and it would be interesting to see. Hopefully she retains that engagement on Wednesday. I think that's a fascinating entry, considering up against boys, and up against good boys at that, being Allaho, Battle Over, Doyen, Easy Game, good horses. She's obviously held in pretty high regard. She's unbeaten currently over fences. She's a much better chaser than she is a hurdler. I know she lost out to Build Me Up Buttercup in a Mare's Hurdle at the start of the year. But Paul Townend gave Build Me Up Buttercup a fantastic ride that day. Second, she had to give away racecourse fitness. I was going to say racecourse experience, racecourse fitness, as Build Me Up Buttercup had been through the flat season and obviously had to run over hurdles before that as well. And thirdly, she's a much better chaser than she is a hurdler. So I wouldn't look too much into that race. And in fact, I'd look more so at her form last year, where she was a really progressive mare over fences. And if there was a Mare's Chase last year, it wouldn't have surprised me if she ended up running in the race. There wasn't a race for her to run in at Cheltenham, because she'd been over fences her three runs last year, and she wasn't going to go back for the Mare's Hurdle. She did run in the Mare's Hurdle 2 years ago, where I think she was 7th. She was down the field, but she was a young mare then. I think she was only 5 when she ran in that. She was still very inexperienced, and I'd like to hope going back to Cheltenham this time round she'd be a more well-rounded mare. I probably didn't put her up earlier in the year. I've always talked about her, and if you look back at some videos either on this channel or on other channels I've been on, I've always said that in regards to Benny, because I thought that Mullins had a good hand with the mare's chase with potentially Ellie May or Elle Foyle. Now Elle Foyle's another mare we haven't seen all year, which is a bit of a shame considering I think she's a really handy mare. Maybe something to run in the mare's hurdle if they could get her back. But I have always had Ellie May on my radar. But after that hurdle run, she went away for a while. I wasn't sure whether there was something wrong with her, and obviously she didn't run at Cheltenham last year. Now, maybe that's for the reasons that I've just indicated. I do think she'll run in the mare's chase. I think even if Dame de Company's in the race, I think JP will run the 2 in it. And I don't think Benny's going to be there. And I think if you take Benny out, put the kettle on out, I think it becomes a pretty windy race. And Willie Mullins has just such a stranglehold on these mares races. I know Honeysuckle beat Benny in the mares hurdle last year, but other than that, his record in all these mares races, his record in the mares hurdle, the mares novice, is super. It wouldn't surprise me if he begins to have a little bit of a trend in the mares chase, and therefore I think it's prudent to side with Willie Mullins. I think this is the mare that will run in the race. However, I'm going to just go non-runner no bet just in case something happens to her, and we can get obviously our stake back therefore if she doesn't run. As I say, the majority of bookies are going 11 to 1, not non-runner no bet, and she's 10 to 1 non-runner no bet. I think it's worth it for a point to get the insurance. So Ellie May will be bet 10 for the Cheltenham Festival, for the mare's chase on the Friday, and hopefully she can run well for Willie Mullins. I know I have a few Willie Mullins horses in there. I think that's my 4th. So it is becoming a little bit of a trend, but, Willie is the master, and I think he does have a very good chance with an awful lot of these horses. Anyway, this video, as I say, was to create chat about the festival handicaps. What do you think about Ellie May as a mare's chase selection? Do you agree with my reasoning or not? Do let me know in the comments down below, and of course let me know your best fancies for the Cheltenham Festival handicaps going forward. I know it's still mid to late January, still an awful lot of water under the bridge between now and March, but we need to really start getting into things. Right after the Dublin Racing Festival, the full previews will be out, so hopefully that can all work out well, and obviously hope you guys are continuing to enjoy the videos. If you did so, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. It really does help out a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And until next time, where we'll be doing a few midweek videos, because I might do that Thurles card again, unless the entries are exactly the same. I'll definitely be doing Thyeste's Day and maybe the Friday racing at Navan before a weekend preview. So hopefully a fair bit of content coming your way. Hope you're enjoying it, and I'll see you guys then. And between now and then, I know that maybe not be that much racing between now and the next time I see you, but if you are having a bet, hope you land a couple, and I'll see you guys then. Cheers.